Okay, hello everyone and welcome to Riga Aviation Forum. My name is Mihails Savrasovs and I am representative of Transport and Telecommunication Institute. So before starting my presentation, I would like to give you a few notes about the entity I am representing. So Transport and Telecommunication Institute is a private type university which is located in Riga. It was organized 21 years ago, and as the base for organization was famous Riga Aviation University. So I am the Dean of Engineering Faculty, and we are providing a number of study possibilities for the students, for the young people, and the study includes computer science, telecommunication, aviation, the engineering field of aviation, and the rest study programs. But today I'm going to give you a short presentation regarding the decision making, but the decision making which is based on numerical characteristics. So here, as you see, the title is Simulation as a Decision Supporting Tool for Airport Planning. So the agenda is quite light, but first of all, I would like to give you a very brief vision on a decision-making process and how we could apply the simulation and how the simulation could help you in a decision-making. And next, and I believe the most important part of the presentation, is to give you some real examples which allow you to understand a value of simulation in a decision-making process. So I believe that every manager has a very big responsibility to make the decisions, different kind of the decisions. And you could find a lot of information about how to make effective decisions in different areas. But what I would like to mention that usually the decisions which are made, they do not have evidences. It's like the internal feeling of a person, his or her internal experience. But what we would like to do, we would like to make the decisions which are based on data. And if you look to the 7 steps of effective decision making, you could see a step number 5, which is a choose among alternatives. So if we would like to choose, we need to have some evidences. And simulation could provide us such evidences. So a slide here represents a very generic vision on how we are using simulation. So you see that there are a number of steps which should be passed in order to apply the simulation for the decision-making process. And let me describe in a brief each of the steps which was presented earlier. So first of all, and this one is a very important and a vivid point of the simulation, is a data, the input data which we are using to simulate the system, to simulate the situation. So it could be different kind of data. It could be the data regarding the passengers flows, regarding a vehicle's flow, regarding aircraft schedule, and so on. The next stage is to understand the behavior, because let me give you some real example. At example, a vehicle behavior, or better to say a driver behavior, is different in different countries. Therefore, if we would like to do a simulation, we need to understand the behavior of our entities, passengers, vehicles, aircrafts, and so on. The next one is to do a current situation simulation to understand how our simulation is realistic, to check if a created model reflects the current situation. And the next step is regarding a data collection. So actually, all the things which were presented before are done to get some numerical outputs which could be used in a decision making. So usually simulation provides us a huge amount of the data which could be presented in different forms, or like diagrams which are quite clear for people making decisions, or like graphs, or even as a 2D and 3D visualization. So there are different forms. And the next one and the last step here is a decision making. So using the data which was provided by the model, the responsibility of a person is to take the scenario or an option which fits the expectations. So usually there are a number of possible solutions, and simulation allows to get the best one from different points of view. So usually we have a lot of questions. If we are talking airport, we could talk about schedule, we could talk about a surrounding structure, infrastructure of the airport, we could talk about the passengers. So there are a lot of questions which should be answered. And here on a slide, you could see some of the questions which usually stands and the answers should be provided. So now I would like to move to some case studies. First of all, I would like to mention a very important point. The case studies I am presenting right now, they are not, let's say, academic case studies created by some students or by some teaching staff only for demonstration. Both case studies are the real projects which were completed in a close collaboration with Riga International Airport by our internal laboratory, which is called Simulation Lab. And first case study is regarding the passengers' flows, which are quite important because usually we are asking how happy are our passengers, what is the satisfaction level of them. So this case study deals with simulation of passenger flows in an area of registration and security zones in Riga International Airport. And the main goal of this project was to understand the impact of different scenarios to organization of security and registration zone. What will be the impact of one layout or the second layout? What will be the impact if the number of passengers will be increased or whatever? So we did a number of scenarios, but because of time limits, I'm not able to present all of them here. Therefore, I am presenting only two of them. So first scenario is just the current state. Actual situation, okay, maybe I will give a note, not the actual one, which is currently in, I believe, in all airports around the world, but the situation which was 1 year ago before the COVID. So as you see, we are simulating Riga International Airports, the timing is presented, and as an input data, the number of the passengers and the number of security lanes are provided, and the capacity of the security zone is provided. And here we are coming to a very important issue which I have already mentioned. The simulation results could be presented in a different form, and I believe a most impressive and one of the most useful form is 2D and 3D animation. So right now you could see on a screen a layout of Riga International Airport's check-ins and the security zone, and the red dots which are currently in a movement are representing the passengers. So looking to such animation, we are able to find out the bottlenecks in the system, and of course we are able to generate some numerical characteristics like average queue length, average waiting time, and we could use such numbers to evaluate numerically the situation. So not just emotions, everything is bad or everything is good, but specific numeric characteristics. So this one is a current state around 12 o'clock. So in general, we could see that in some places we do have some queues, but in general, the process is going forward. So the second scenario which I would like to present is the scenario which goes as a forecast. And here you could see that we are forecasting that it will be the increase of number of passengers. Again, I would like to remind you that this project was implemented before all the COVID issues. So you could see that we are increasing the number of departures, we are increasing the number of passengers for departure, but in the same time, the infrastructure is still the same as for the current scenario. So, and let's see the situation. Of course, in some places you could see quite long queues, and this one could be a signal for a decision maker that we need to think about the situation, we need to discuss the situation, and probably we need to generate some solutions of how to overcome this one to be ready for such passenger flow in this area. And again, as the main output, animation is demonstrated. So this one was the first case study, and now I would like to move to the second case study, which deals with traffic flow simulation. So I believe it's a very vivid issue of how we are able to reach airport. Is it, let's say, a very simple task, or there are a lot of queues and we should spend 2-3 hours just to reach the airport? So in general, we are thinking that even a surrounding infrastructure, transport infrastructure around the airport plays a great role on passenger satisfaction and the capacity of the airport. So the general goal was to evaluate the impact of different development scenarios into traffic flows. And here I would like to note that we have analyzed a significant number of different scenarios, and as you see according to the slide, the scenarios are different because of reference year, so we again did some forecasting, but they're also different from a point of view of how we are developing a transport infrastructure around the airport. Again, because of time, I will not show all scenario results, but some of them. As I have stated, the most important point is to collect the data. So we have collected the data about traffic flow intensities in different areas of Riga International Airport. So here you could see some examples of the collected data, and just to note, of course, most type of traffic are private vehicles and a taxi, which is reflected here on our diagrams. The next one is a model creation. So we are using a specialized tool which is called vSim. It provides a possibility to complete a detailed traffic flow simulation. And here you could see some pictures from the model. Okay, just the layout of the network which was simulated, and some part of the networks with vehicles inside. So, as I have stated, usually it is very vivid to provide a 3D visualization. Okay, this one is just the picture to get you an impression of how we could simulate such kind of things. And now I am moving to the scenarios. As I have stated, it was a number of scenarios, but I'm demonstrating only, I believe, the most interesting one. As you see according to the slide, they include different development scenarios according to the development plan of Riga International Airport, but also some interesting things regarding forecasted traffic flows, a development of additional infrastructure around the airport, like hotels, hospital, business center, exhibition hall, distribution centers, and so on. And a few words about input data and development scenarios. So here you could see some input data for scenario number 4, which include a construction of railroad terminal near Riga International Airport. Also for scenario number 7, some scheme which demonstrate of how we could reroute a cargo transport from the area of Riga International Airport, not to mix it with private vehicles and taxi. And now I believe we could move to results of the simulation. So here you could see so-called worm diagram, which actually represents the bottlenecks of the system, and the bottlenecks are demonstrated in a red color. Also, I would like to note that by the letters D and B, we are reflecting the level of service in a different part of the network. And as you see, the situation near the terminal, according to the current state, is not the best one. A level D, which is yellow, so it's signalizing us that it could be a possible problem. So moving to the scenario number 4, then we will complete all development things around the airport. You could see again a WAM map, and you could see a level of the services in the different part of the models, and the general conclusion could be that a situation after implementing all the features will become much better compared to the current state. So, as I have stated, usually we are demonstrating diagrams, we are demonstrating some numerical results, tables, but sometimes very important is to get, let's say, the clear image on what is happening inside the system, and therefore we are using a 3D simulation to represent the current state of the network. Here I would like to point your attention to a very important issue, that a simulation, it's not just animating the process. Because you could see here the pedestrians, you could see here vehicles, you could see here the different type of vehicles. So, and this issue is according to real data, and the behavior of the vehicles, pedestrians, and all our entities is according to the real data. So this one is the area near the terminal after reconstruction and the development of a new railroad terminal. So as aggregation of the results, the following table could be constructed. In general, it presents a level of services for the different part of the network, and you could see that, for example, in some scenarios, we still again have a level D. By implementing some changes in routing the traffic, we are able to increase the level of service. Also, simulation give us numbers regarding utilization of the parking areas, which is quite important to think about how the development of infrastructure will be supported. So this one is now a point just to demonstrate you that the situation could be seen visually, and the situation could be discussed, and the proposals could be given for decision making regarding the situation. So this one is now a diagram which actually represents the possible bottlenecks in the next development stages. Okay, so I'm coming to the conclusions, and the conclusions are listed here, but in general I just want to note that right now we are dealing with very complex open systems, and usually to make the right decisions To make effective decisions, we need a tool, and such kind of tool could be a simulation modeling. Thank you very much, and one more time, welcome to Riga Aviation Forum.